evening, everyone. Welcome to our first Wednesday's lecture series. I'm Kathy Nerschel. I'm the Aquarium's Vice President of Human Resources, and I want to thank you all for being in the theater. I also want to greet those who are watching online. We're so glad you're with us tonight. And I'd like to also thank our sponsors for helping to make this program possible. Steve and Brenda Olson, the Osborne and Rourke Charitable Trust, Courtyard by Marriott Long Beach, and thank you all for that. Now, I am very pleased to introduce our speaker tonight, Jamiah Hargins. Jamiah is the founder and executive director of Crop Swap LA. He is an urban agriculture innovator who is literally reinventing how neighborhoods grow and access fresh food. After successful careers as a recruiter and market trader, he brought global experience and systems thinking to a new calling, transforming unused urban spaces, front yards, backyards, and even alleys into microfarms that feed local families with organically grown produce. His work sits at the intersection of food justice, climate resilience, and imaginative urban design. He has been recognized by the Los Angeles City Council and Adidas and has been featured in many major media outlets. In fact, I just watched him on the Kelly Clarkson show today on YouTube. You can find all kinds of things. Check it out. Fluent in 3 languages and deeply rooted in community. He speaks on regenerative design, Black liberations, and cooperative economics. He has a Master's of Public Administration, Economic and Political Development from Columbia University and a bachelor's degree in Political Science and Government from the University of Chicago. Jamiah is also a devoted husband, father, and martial artist. Please join me in welcoming Jamiah Hargins.
Thank you, well done. Good evening. Oh, it's so great to be here. I'm so happy to meet you. Again, my name is Jamiah Hargins, and I'm the founding executive director of Crop Swap LA. I just want to make sure I also, yep, that's good to go. Thank you for the patience as the frequencies get aligned. I'll wait for that to get aligned. Thank you guys so much for that patience. Maybe we'll turn this one off. Bingo. So first of all, thank you for the warm welcome and the warm invitation, specifically from Adina Metz and her husband Adam. Adina is the director of special programs here who invited me to join, and also the other senior staff here in the board of directors at the Aquarium of the Pacific. As the founder of an organization that builds infrastructure and manages programming around our food independent systems, I'm excited to share with you some thoughts that I've had about where we are now as a society and what we can really do in tangible methods to improve the way that things are, because I think that's something we can all get behind, that we want to improve the way that things are. So part of my conversation with you today is around that topic, and the rest is around your own questions and Q&A at the end. As you see here, today's presentation is entitled, "The Food System of the Future is the one of the past." And it may not be in the same way that you expect it to be. Like, yes, many of us came from farming families, almost everyone if you go back far enough. But there are some interesting parallels and similarities between biology, anatomy, and chemistry that we can see as a system that works well on that level, that maybe if we expand it outwardly on a fractal level here, what we're doing as a human food system, maybe something can work similarly. So examine with me, first of all. This is, we're at the Aquarium of the Pacific. I have to start with a fish. This is a deep sea anglerfish, and the anglerfish has an interesting mode on the top of its forehead. Sometimes it's lit up, sometimes not. But it's a clever way of kind of luring its prey toward it in some way and ultimately capturing its prey. It got me thinking, if we examine different levels of biology in different organisms, and if we examine their food systems, what will we learn about them? And the question I had is, are we to find that organizations with really self-sufficient systems are more sophisticated? Meaning, if we have our own self-sufficient food system, are we more sophisticated? Here's another example. Mushrooms. Mushrooms are actually the flowers of the mycelial network, which is the underground web that connects and moves nutrients from one location to another. These mycelial networks have to pollinate through spores, and they use mushrooms to make that happen. So mushrooms are actually sophisticated enough to biodegrade and use dead and dying matter, such as tree trunks and things like that, in order to survive and gain new nutrients to move around. It's actually a symbiotic relationship because as much falls and dies onto it, they can use and reuse that around the planet. So it's a very sophisticated system of leveraging existing resources around you in order to feed yourself. That's the theme. Even on the plant level, if we look at and zoom into the plant cells, there are these things called chloroplasts. Chloroplasts exist within the plant cells, and they aid the plant in that process called photosynthesis that we all remember from 3rd grade. But what I learned recently is that photosynthesis actually creates carbohydrates, which means the plant uses these chloroplasts inside it to create a carbohydrate and oxygen. And this is a zoom in of this great YouTube contributor and his imagery of oxygen coming off of the plants on a cellular level. It got me thinking again, if these small chloroplasts inside the plant cells can move so hard and work so hard to create that carbohydrate, then what if on an individual basis, each one of you and each one of us do our best on our homes and our lands and our properties to grow food that we can create a sustainable food system for ourselves and feed ourselves. That's the analogy. So what's interesting to me is that humans used to do this. And in a lot of ways, we took a left turn in a lot of ways. We stopped feeding ourselves and began allowing ourselves to be fed by others. We as humans have chosen leaders who put money and profit before us, and that ends up creating food weapons and food weaponry, which is the opposite of the intention. Grocery stores, those also were not actually intended to help people heal and to help them out. Instead, they were actually used as colonial outposts and depots to encourage further expansion of this country's colonial ambitions. Later, grocery stores were also used to keep immigrants and factory workers nearby their jobs in urban cities. So the concept of a grocery store actually removes the self-sufficiency and creates a heavy dependency that the rest of us have to deal with now in 2025. My intention in bringing that up is to say that we have to do something soon. Here's a chart showing the nutrient density depletion over time of many of our fields in the United States. You can see the nitrogen on the left is the greatest at about 15% depletion, and many other essential elements that are micronutrients that allow plants to take in nutrients in their roots, those are also depleting over time. So it shows that there's a desperate need for change as soon as possible. And I personally saw this in Los Angeles, where I live. In LA, there may be as many as 20,000 people living in any 1 square mile, which means when a grocery store shuts down, it literally affects hundreds of thousands of people at the same time. It's really a precarious system. It actually affects animals, the environment. Obviously, there's labor abuses and creates heavy amounts of dependencies. So I just started noticing this, as I became a parent. Here's my first daughter. This is Triana. And I essentially did not want to have her in a world where food was that precarious. It's losing its value in nutrients. It's hard to acquire. You're not sure if the grocery stores are going to be ready to be there soon. And then as we all know, even this month, the SNAP benefits are being removed for many people. And that does affect all of us in many ways. So we can't rely on a system like that anymore. It's not fair to the next generation. So when I realized this, I went out to my backyard. This was 2018, I believe. And I decided that I would just build a garden. I would try to create a space that had food growing. I didn't know how successful it would be or what it really took. As you know, on the introduction, my background comes from trading stocks and being a recruiter. So the thought of growing food to me was a little foreign, but I was in touch ancestrally. So I threw together this garden here. You can see some wood and the water spraying everywhere. But it actually turned out creating a lot of delicious food. These were Swiss chard and rainbow chards with crunchy, juicy, delicious, tough texture, smooth. Oh, it was just the best. So I was surprised, though, having so much come out of the ground, that I had way too much than I expected, and more than I needed, and definitely more than my first daughter needed. So I went online and I started what we called crop swaps. These were casual get-togethers where other gardeners would get in my house with me, put our togethers, our extras from our gardens. You see in this image some eggs and green beans, persimmons and things like that. People even brought fruit from their trees. And it just got me thinking, what if we could create that food system that I see other highly sophisticated animals operating on, where they feed themselves, where there's order and understanding of where you fit in it, and something like this image on the screen now. This is actually a small town in Switzerland that has all of its yards completely committed to growing food. I imagine how peaceful it was, how bucolic it was, and I just wondered in Los Angeles if we could create our own neighborhoods that did the same thing, where lovers would tiptoe through gardens and whisper to each other, "Oh, it's beautiful here. Why aren't we doing this everywhere?" So that's what we need in Los Angeles. I got together with one of my team leads now, who graduated to become one of our team leads. At the time, he was working in a school. Michael on the left there had a front yard that he said he's not really using much, and maybe we could figure out a way to grow some food together. It was a beautiful yard in the neighborhood of Lamert Park in Los Angeles. And so I paired up with a mentor of mine named Mike Garcia. If you don't know Mike Garcia, he runs Enviroscape LA. They do beautiful ponds and landscaping. But he's also a personal mentor who stepped in and helped me to design what we now call a microfarm. A microfarm has these wells at the bottom of the area that recapture and capture rainwater. And then it pumps the water onto the crops so that you can irrigate the entire area using minimal water. This diagram shows the wells on the top of the property and the other grow spaces at the rest of the property. And it transformed into this, which is the Asante Microfarm. The Asante Microfarm grows food. It captures about 800 gallons of rainwater anytime that it does rain. It uses these overhead sprayers to put the water onto a platform that uses gravity to roll it right back down into the reservoirs. And this beautiful photo shows you, the chard, the kale, just what's possible if we reorient our mindset towards systems, food systems. This yard is now producing food for about 11 families each Sunday. Our teammates have a crop rotation, which is a specific manner in which we plant and harvest that allows for maximum output. The property owner, the way our system works at Crop Swap LA, homeowners get to use tax benefits for the water that is going into the garden. That becomes a write-off. The food that we take off the property becomes a write-off, and even some of the real estate that the garden is taking up on the property is written off. In addition to that, by removing grass, many of us know from like the turf removal rebate world that you can save a lot of water. Like on this yard, we took all the grass off and put in our water recycling systems here. And this not only uses no grass water, but also it uses only 8% of the water historically used to grow grass, but to grow food for our neighborhoods. So it's a big win. The homeowners love it. The neighborhood thrives from it. It's right by a high school. This one's called the LaSalle Microfarm. It allows for ideal, little branding for each location to be a little bit different. LaSalle was the name of her husband, who rest in peace. And so we wanted to honor him by naming it after him. And these beautiful drone photos show you exactly, what it looks like from a top-down perspective. I then met another mentor named Rick Seyssel. By the way, if you can tell, mentors are the thing. I really encourage you to lean into people who lean into you. Rick and I designed my home. This is the video of the Degnan microfarm. It's our third one, and it's also rainwater capturing and water recycling. It's a little bit different. This one's using a terraponics system. Most folks are probably familiar with hydroponics. You might even be familiar with aquaponics, but terraponics is like hydroponics with soil on the top. It allows for a flood and drain mechanism that operates in the same way of rainwater capturing and water recycling, but it's also using biology that lives in the soils so that the food tastes better, there's more micronutrients for the uptake, nutrient uptake in the plants, and you get a more organic output. These big, beautiful beets, for instance, and lovely aerial views of what we do. All of our microfarms are solar powered and water recycling. That means the solar power is used in the pumps of our tanks, and then those pumps move the water efficiently using gravity to return it. That's essential because I want to encourage people to think about, urban survival, what it takes to live in a city of Los Angeles. Of course, you need power, water, food, but you also need a living, right? Something that you're creating on your property that's valuable. What we do at Crop Swap LA is create value that didn't exist before on unused land, and allows for the homeowners to get involved at some point too in case you need additional income. So it's a very expandable model, and I just wanted to point that out. What you see on the screen here is an underground rainwater reservoir tank at my house. This has 5,000 gallons capacity to last the family for about 800 days in the case of an emergency. This is drinkable, potable water. It's biofiltered and uses other filtration systems in the pumps to make sure it's clean. Tastes way better, and if you're not already on the water thing, definitely look into your tap water and see what's really in there. When you ultimately look at the chemical equation of everything that goes into your tap water, it's not H2O anymore. It's H2O, chlorine, fluoride, arsenic, and some other things. So I very much encourage people to begin capturing your own rainwater, and you can call us at Crop Swap LA. We'll put in this beautiful landscaping that this is a permeable platform, so you can use the platform, but it's storing the water underground. This is permeable, beautiful, river rock stones. And this shows you just a little bit of our, I'm always proud of our rainwater capturing, percentages, like our water retention. The red line shows you over 1 month what we would have spent in water watering the person's grass. The blue line shows you in that same month what we actually spent irrigating crops. So we use a lot less water. In fact, it's only 8% of the water used to grow grass, but to grow crops. So it's a big win for infrastructure. And because it's a lot of infrastructure, opportunities, we've had a lot of interest from various different institutions. This is a church, for instance, that had a property that we put a labyrinth garden into. We've had schools. I think now at this point we're in 4 schools, in high schools, middle schools, elementary, all of them intended to, yes, grow food, but also to encourage the next generation that they better get on it too. Nonprofits like the YMCA and neighborhood housing, we put gardens in with them as well. A lot of our programming is around just showing people the basics, but some programming like this image here comes out of Allensworth, California. And Allensworth is a historically black neighborhood, town in California that was, I believe, the last standing black-founded town in California. Highly agricultural and lots of interesting history about Allensworth. So it turns out I have a different mentor who lives there and has property and offered to grow food with us. So we took a team up there and planted, harvested, and decided that that would be also one of our locations to bring food into Los Angeles. Water is essential. Pollinators are important for our plants. Many of them use flowers such as squashes and things like that in order to pollinate. But this is just to highlight that my team and I do all the dirty work in terms of the irrigation. There's mud and sand and saws and drills and all of that. We love designing these systems and are grateful under our landscaping license and also our mentors that we've gotten into this space where we're replacing pumps regularly. It gets slimy. There's a lot of pest control. And it's really, some of it's glamorous. I think this is a glamorous moment you're witnessing right now. But a lot of this is actually pretty slimy and dirty, where we end up, really getting a day's work in. Some of them are project leads, such as these fellows here, and other teammates, they do other administrative work, such as here you have our marketing and sales and donation leaders, our farming team, finance, HR, and operations. So really, it's essentially just to highlight that it really takes an entire administration in order to have our own food system. We're a little bit spoiled because a lot of our food system right now, the administration exists in DC, and all of those decisions are made in DC. But really, this small group of people here is capable of creating and delivering hundreds of pounds of food to a couple of hundred people every single week, and it's a beautiful operation. I'm grateful for each one of them. Some of them are doing projects, others are doing, marketing, but we've also had a lot of volunteers, like this cute little youngster right here started when he was 5 years old, and I think he's almost in middle school or something like that. Other parents, they show up and volunteer with us as well. And it's really just a fun way to get connected again. Here's my daughter, grown up a little bit, with some radical beets. Those are radical radishes. And volunteers who show up on Sunday mornings every week at 7 a.m. They help us to wash, harvest, and bag some things. They get to kind of help replant with some smaller tasks. And it's really a wholesome activity. Many of us, I think at this phase, are kind of craving connection in many ways, which is why you've come to this beautiful event today. Well, I encourage you to also volunteer with us or volunteer with something, like this, so that you can get your hands in the soil. The moment that you touch soil, there's a specific bacteria that triggers your body to send out positive endorphins. So touching soil automatically will make you happier. We also realized that if we expanded our fruit tree harvesting program, we would triple the amount of food that we had. So how many of you guys have fruit trees at your home with too much stuff? Yeah. So I noticed that, and we noticed that earlier. We've seen oranges, lemons. Sometimes the homeowners, they come out of their homes and pick with us just to enjoy some time with someone on their property. Yeah, we've got papayas, lovely plums. Can you believe these are on people's trees, yet we go to the grocery store and buy them? Pluots, avocados. I mean, one harvest of an avocado tree can add up to about $700 of a tax write-off for that homeowner. So when we come over and do that and send them their letters at the end of the year, they're going to be shocked. There are persimmons, lovely, I believe these are plantains, maybe bananas, but you can't find, this is a soursop. You can't find a soursop in a grocery store in any high quality because it's a delicate fruit and needs to be shipped across the world in order to get here, unless we grow it ourselves. That's right. These are elderberries, I think, some mulberries, strawberries, peaches. Oh my goodness, if you're not hungry now, you're going to be. These are plums and grapes and limes, cactus fruit, my goodness. I forgot, white zapote, if you haven't had that one, it's really healthy. More persimmons and oranges, it's abundance, abundance, abundance. Okra, so what we do is we separate these things, like these grapes are separated here. We wash them on Sunday mornings, organize them into our membership piles. This is a combination of work with staff and volunteers where we display the beautiful variety of things we both grew and harvested that week. And, members can either come by and work with us and come and take their bags home with them, or they can get delivery, which is really what we recommend. We're grateful we have an electric vehicle truck that can deliver, and so we deliver all of that each Sunday morning. But there's extra food. So the extra food, we opened up a farm stand. That allows people who are not within the membership. By the way, I was really adamant about the membership being local, because the moment we started growing food, I was happy to get calls all across Los Angeles. Hey, we'd love to grow, you to grow food with us, or allow us to buy your food. But I was really adamant about it staying local, because I personally believe that if the grandmother across the street can see the food, then she deserves to have the food. And there's this history of exploitation and extraction out of our neighborhoods that I'm trying to cease. So what I did is I created a 2-mile radius around our microfarms that enables people to be eligible for delivery membership. If you're not within the 2 miles, you can't buy the food on delivery. But even though you're outside, you can come in the farm stand. Even that drew now what we have, I mean, 400 or 500 family wait list on that list. So we really prioritize it to people who are paying with EBT or CalFresh, as well as those who are veterans, elderly, caring for a family who's elderly, single parent, or if you have multiple kids, various levels, maybe you've graduated from the foster care or adoption system. Either way, we prioritize folks in those categories so that they can get the food. Sometimes we visit our senior centers and give them the extras. They're excited to share stories about their childhoods when they saw fresh food. And again, I really sympathize and just re-emphasize that the changing of our federal policies on our SNAP benefits is highly detrimental. There's nothing even political about it. It's actually just counting numbers and observing our society. So I'm very concerned about where we're heading. I think the only answer, the only solution that I know about is if you grow food too. Please, grow food with me and my team at your home. If you have space, there's no excuse anymore, because people who can't grow food can't grow food. Like if you have a small apartment, someone else is in a worse situation. If you have a backyard or a front yard, please grow some food. Call us, we'll help you. But it's a matter of life and death at this point. It's no longer cute. I'm not casual about this. I'm growing food. It looks fun and beautiful, but I'm really not casual about this. You need to be growing food for your family. I'm a father, I call myself a dad. If I weren't producing my own food, I would be concerned calling myself that. So I want you to understand where my mind is on this. It's a matter of oppression. It's a matter of fighting back. Like if you're not willing to go out in the streets and fight these thugs on the streets, like I'm not willing to, this is a way to fight them where they can't really get much further, where you can grow food on your property, create jobs for your family, your neighbors, and be independent of these atrocious systems. Here's a little bit about our system compared to other systems. So, environmentally, Crop Swap LA has kind of beat all the other systems. There's lawns. Here's lawns, which use water and all these emissions and fertilizer usage, so they got a low score. There's conventional agriculture. Sorry, this study was from UCLA about a year ago that compared us with other systems. There's conventional agriculture, which fails in the energy and GHG emissions areas and pesticide usage. There's urban agriculture, which does well in most places. There's a low crop yield at 3.3. I think I have yeah, that's nice. There's a low crop yield at 3.3, but otherwise, low pesticides, low fertilizer, low GHG, low energy use. So urban ag is doing pretty well. But then Crop Swap, our water usage is really important because water recycling is essential to what we do. So we win there, energy, GHG, fertilizer, pesticides. Our crop yield is super low, right? Because we're kind of like 8 years into this. So we're growing food now in 10 locations. I didn't say that earlier, but I'd love to be growing food in 10,000 locations one day. And then of course the ideal was 10-10. So this was just an interesting way to kind of evaluate our model if it can be extrapolated or patterned out elsewhere. And that's really my goal. I've told my team recently, this problem is so big, we can't fix it ourselves. We can inspire others to try and do it with us. So here's an image of me at a workshop. We give workshops each month that encourages people to grow food as a business, or grow food as medicine, or grow food for your community, or grow food for wellness. I think I might not have said that one. But each one is about survival. So we teach tangible skills of how to get the plants growing, how to do some irrigation work, on a residential level. Once people take 4 of our courses, then we certify them as urban home growers, which allows them to have more confidence to do it again. I'm really about sustainability. As you guys know, my background was in finance. So I decided to create an endowment for urban farming for Crop Swap LA. This is a fund that larger donors can put into to endow and invest in what we're doing at Crop Swap LA. In the same way our universities have these huge endowments, I said, why not? I want an endowment too. Because the precarious nature of our funding system is, you've got to figure it out for yourself. Just wanted to let you know that's part of our innovation. We've had some press. I'm grateful for the press. I'll just put that up there for a moment. And an Adidas deal, I'm actually wearing the shoes, so check it out. Hey, Adidas, yeah. yeah. And it actually came with a mural, which was surprising to me, but it was amazing. And yeah, that was just really amazing to have happen. I've created a book called Captain Plant It. Captain Plant It. He is a superhero carrot who teaches people how to grow food and encourages sharing in your neighborhoods. Yeah, you can get one of the Captain Plant It books outside. It's a coloring book and it rhymes, so read it out loud. He's the founder of South LA Cafes. I give him one of those. We also work with realtors. Any realtor who's looking to add added value to your clients or whatever, add a fountain on a property, make it spicy, you can work with us and we can put that in with you. Also, if you want crop swap in your city, so like say you're in Orange County or you're in Long Beach, it's a little far from where we are, then I would encourage you to join my Your City initiative. It's basically a mentorship program where I'll coach you into being the leader that you need to be for your people. So depending on your situation in your town, how much money you have available to start growing food, if it's nothing, I'll coach you from nothing up. The idea is that you have to be that leader, and I can only help from the outside from Los Angeles. But please step up and be that leader so that your neighbors nearby you and your family can have more food security due to your courage. All right, other ways to get involved is become a recurring donor, get a garden yourself, come to a workshop, or just advocate for farming subsidies in the urban spaces. That's one way to do it. Here's my contact information. I just want to thank everyone for going with me on the analogy of individuals all stepping forward to create food for ourselves, and that we all are sophisticated enough as multicellular organisms that we can figure out how to create food for ourselves. If all of these other animals and microbiologies, they figured it out, then I think we can also do that. So thank you for your time. It's time for Q&A.
Now it's like, oh, hello. Okay, so it's Q&A. We're gonna have some people with mics. Mike with a mic. And Emma with a mic. Please raise your hand. They'll come to you with the mic so that you can ask your question of Mr. Hargins. I asked while they're getting up there.
Sure.
Yeah. Really, seriously, let's say you live in an apartment that's in Cement Town.
Yeah.
And all you have is a small balcony. What can one little balcony produce?
Oh, one balcony can give you so much food. What you'll do is you put up some wires going from the ground up to the ceiling of the balcony, and then allow some cucumbers, tomatoes, onions, green onions, squashes. You can put anything in there.
And we can call you and ask for your help.
Oh, yeah.
Ask your team to come over, and
Yeah.
that's amazing.
That's right. Yeah, we do consultations.
All right.
Go ahead.
Hi, I saw one of your farms was in the front yard. Is there any zoning or housing regulations or anything that you have to deal with if you try to put, that kind of stuff in the front yard or?
Great question. The short answer is no. In most places in Los Angeles, this is Los Angeles County specific, you're allowed to put gardens and grow food in your yards. You're allowed to grow fruit trees and take that. You're also allowed to distribute that freshly grown food without any legal license, as long as it's not manipulated. I'm just going to turn this off. Yeah, there we go. As long as it's not, like, if you have oranges and you don't do anything with it, so no orange pie, then you can give it away for free with no issues. You can even sell it with no issues. I think the areas where you come into some challenges are if you have a homeowners association, and I know a lot of people here do. Sometimes they have rules, but I've been encouraging people, if you have a homeowners association that is preventing you from growing food for yourself and your family, then get on the board of that association and change the rules. Just change the rules. Yeah, because no one should get in between you and your God-given right to have your own food and nutrients. I have the idea called the local nutrient transfer. That means no matter where you live, you can be in an apartment building or you can be out on a farm or in New York City, but those local nutrients are your rights to have transferred into your body. you have the right to try your best on your balcony to grow food. So if any landlord steps forward with that, then I encourage you to like pursue some legal action about what your rights are as a human being. And ultimately, they'll discover it's not worth the fight, and they'll just let you grow what you can. So the other thing is, I showed you guys some water recycling features today. If you dig deeper than 4 feet, then you need a permit. But we made sure to stay shallower than 4 feet underground, and we just went longer and did more of the spaces, so we achieved the amount of water we needed to preserve. Good question. Thank you.
Hi.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It was a really interesting talk.
Yes.
My question is, I am in an apartment. I have a very small balcony. What would be the very first thing I should grow, or the very first steps I should take if I was going to go this?
Yeah. You know what's funny? I think each of you guys are going to get a pot today. So here's what you do with the pot today that you get. It's a terracotta. I think it looked like terracotta. Terracotta allows for wicking and suction upwardly. So what you'll do is get a tray, like an old tray you don't need, that has edges on it. Fill the tray with water, so it's got water now, and then put your potted plant right there in there. It'll suck it up gradually at the right rate that it needs to be. So that way you don't have to try to stay attentive to the watering schedule. That's really the hardest part, when you can't hook up automatic irrigation and then the plant suffers when it's drying out because you're working or you're traveling. But one way to avoid that is putting it in a tray, and you can put as many pots there in the tray that you need to. So that's the first thing I would do. But yeah, also see if your property in an apartment building is open to you using any public space that it has. Sometimes that's possible. Or if it's a newer construction, inquire about a rooftop garden. Sometimes the structural, the bearings of the building needs to have been considered into the program, like the architectural design, but sometimes a smaller garden is still possible without disrupting the building. So maybe that's possible. Yeah, good luck. Yes?
Hi there, thank you so much for your time. It was such an insane presentation.
Thanks.
I just wanted to ask, the city of Long Beach started an initiative where we have a ton of open lots. Just they're everywhere. There's empty spaces all over. I live in downtown. There's tons of retail that's also empty. And so I was wondering, a lot of your focus was on turning homes into farms.
Yes.
Have you looked into turning in all of these giant cement spaces we have into
Yes.
growing farms?
Yes, I'll say anything is possible, so I'm not going to sound pessimistic with the rest of the answer. Yeah, one of the processes at Crop Swap LA that we consider is new locations and how we approach it. The first thing we do is consider all the legal sides of everything. So if it is, say, city property, my first legal concern would be if I grew something there and had it rocking and had it popping for 3 years, are they going to come take it and have to develop over it? Because that's happened to people. So, which kinds of guarantees can I get to the land rights, the land ownership? And if I can't actually get ownership or guarantees on that, then which kind of homeowner should I pursue who want the tax write-offs that I can offer as a nonprofit? That's the question. So usually it's a homeowner who's got grass, it costs them money, they're paying property taxes, they're maybe they're living on Social Security, or maybe they're on that phase of their lives. This is a perfect person, because by working with us, we'll bring down their overall tax liability and create a kind of security around their home. Say if they are an elderly person living alone, then having my team visiting every week is a nice incentive, checking in on her. But also, it's good for the neighborhood, so they end up becoming more of loved by people and appreciated by their neighbors. So the benefits actually outweigh almost all the costs there. I would say, that's why I really think this is the future of our food system. The benefits that I've experienced are tremendous. People watch out for my house, they watch out for my cars. The garage door's open, they'll call me and tell me. So you really become a little bit of a community hero, but also you really feel validated in your own ability to contribute to humanity. So I just really encourage anybody looking to do this to give it a try, and I'll help you out.
Yes. We're homeowners who have had gardens for years, and we put small gardens in every patch that we can. But over time, our gardens have gotten less and less productive. I wonder what the capital cost for a given size of garden would be under your system.
Yeah, with any garden space, one thing I want to make sure you do with your garden space is to refertilize it. So each fall, once the leaves have come down, go ahead and put some fertilizer down there. And while I'm on the topic, don't use Miracle-Gro. Okay, don't use Miracle-Gro. I have to say that nowadays, so I don't realize how many people don't know that. Even they have an organic version, but it's don't do it. It's still not good enough. But look into it yourselves and you'll see what I'm talking about. Nevertheless, if you have like an equestrian center nearby you, or you know somebody with horses, you can find some horse shit, and that's a good way to fertilize. Doing it in the fall allows it to be there. Once it does rain, it works itself inward. In our case, what we would do, I think cost-wise was part of your question, is the way it works is the homeowners pay for the garden. So say it's 4 raised beds, that might cost you $5,000 to have us put in. So $5,000 investment one time allows you entrance into our entrance into our network of food producers. That means you're going to get a hefty bag of fresh food every quarter, or you can pay to be on the membership and get above the wait list by being one of our growing locations. Lately, we've done this thing about monocropping our grow locations. Monocropping on a small scale is not detrimental. Monocropping on huge agricultural scales, like way out in Kansas, that's a problem. But what we do by monocropping is we might have your house as all onions, but we'll come back to you every quarter with a whole bag of everything everyone else grew too. So it allows you entrance into that cool system, and you'll never be left out. Yep.
Hi, yeah. It's kind of along the same lines. Just recently embarking on garden consultancy for the same reason, more nutrient-dense foods. I feel that our society deserves it. But are you guys utilizing, are there any government grants coming out? I mean, I feel like there is a whole new upswing of interest in food sustainability and nutrition, hopefully bigger than my brain and yours. So as far as, helping gardens and, it is, $5,000 cost to the owner, and there could be an ROI, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But are there as far as like in your mentorship, are there government grants that you guys have discovered or things like that? Because I would love to move this along in certain areas. I'm a Palisadian and I want to see all that soil come back to life.
Yeah.
Bring life to everybody there again.
Indeed. Thank you for the question. The short answer is yes, there are many grants on federal, state, county, foundation levels. We are grateful. We've gotten about 75% of our income from grants. However, that is a huge vulnerability, right? So in our case, unfortunately, between DOGE recently and the shutdown, CropSwap LA is being withheld $900,000 of already approved funding that we've applied for. So it's a significant disruption to our planning and our community fabric in a lot of ways to have outsiders have so much financial influence on the inside. It's a vulnerability. So what we're doing at CropSwap LA instead is really leaning into our own ability to generate revenue. Like, yes, we're a nonprofit, but we're trying to make some money too, you feel me? Because I want to make sure my staff are properly, adequately compensated, have health insurance, all of the assurances that people need as employees. And I'm personally interested in the longevity of the institution. So that needs to have all the built-in institutional frameworks. So we're selling gardens, doing workshops, doing tours, whatever it takes, in order to get through this phase. I think we'll see, that I think once we wean off our dependency from the federal government, right? Like once we all put our foot down and say we're not going to pay our federal taxes anymore, right? Once we do that, we're going to witness very quickly that people don't need the federal government. We didn't need them in the first place. But I think it's also going to feel much more authentic in our lifestyles as we're exchanging food with our neighbors, and we understand like her recipe, you know, what you taught from your family, and now I know it. Like, that kind of value doesn't come very quickly from a top-down perspective. It's really difficult to translate that. So I think we're going to get a taste of the good life in a minute, and then we're not going to want to go back. Sure. Yes.
Hi, Jamiah. I really appreciate your project. It's a very inspiring solution to a very problematic issue, underrated. I'm curious to know how your project prevents pests from descending on a concentrated food source like that, and how do you control them if they do?
Yeah, great question. Okay, there are two types of pests. There are little pests and big pests. For the little pests, we use this thing called BT, which is an acronym for a longer name for bacteria. But BT, you spray on the leaves, and that helps prevent a lot of the problems. We also use neem oil and sometimes compost tea. All of those are organic, natural ways of pest prevention. Either use insects and animals against each other, you know, such as aphids, we get those, but we have ladybugs, so they kind of like work together. But that's really on the small pest level, and that's satisfactory. We also do some hand picking. Once we see caterpillars, we grab them. But with the big pests, you might be surprised to learn, the best thing to get away big pests is the urine of their predators, right? So say you have, I don't know, what predator do we have? Cats? Okay, I heard cats. Coyotes, squirrels, skunks, raccoons, possums, yeah, groundhogs, all that mess, man. So each one of them has a different urine that they're going to be deterred by. So at Crop Swap LA, we put the urines on these tabs around the perimeter of our farms, and we call it a predator pee perimeter. And so, you know, we use coyote pee a lot. We use wolf pee a lot for cats. We've used fox pee for mice and rats. Those come in sometimes a dry pellet. And that's a way of harmlessly deterring the animal from coming around your vegetables. So that's what I would do. Yeah.
Hey.
Yes, go ahead.
Love what you're doing.
Thanks.
It's great to see you building community, sustainability, and resilience. It's fabulous. I'm wondering, to be part of this community and to help it grow, do you have to have your team come on and build the farm? Or if someone already has something going, can they contribute in some way, be part of it?
Yes, both are possible. We've gotten calls from people who already have a garden and they just can't handle managing it anymore, so we step in to take it over. We would then rig the garden to measure the amount of water that goes in there so we can give them a tax write-off for that donation. But then we've had other cases where it's an open space. You know, someone just says, hey, I was going to put some rocks here, I was going to put some succulents here, but you know, why not feed ourselves instead? Why not use the space that way? And so they'll put the budget they were going to put toward that landscaping job. You know, some of these landscaping jobs can be $25,000, $30,000. If they put that toward Crop Swap LA, then not only would they be growing food for their communities and themselves, but we could also add rainwater capture to their property so that in the case of our water shutdown or anything like that, they'll have water on the property and can get through it pretty easily. So really we're converting a lot of the mindsets. You know, I appreciate the mow and blow guys around Los Angeles. I appreciate the landscapers, but you know, unless you're feeding humans as much as you're feeding the environment, then you're missing a lot of the opportunity. So yes, many ways to get involved. Thank you for your question.
Hi. Oh, it's on. Great.
Hi.
Hi. I did one of your workshops, by the way. I loved it. I've been thinking about it ever since.
Yes.
There was a lot of talk tonight about the cost to the homeowner or the landowner, and how you can make the money make sense there. I'm curious to know if it makes financial sense from someone who's just consuming the produce, like cost per pound.
Yeah.
Does this compete in a big way? Like, do I go to my neighbor's farm in the front yard, or do I go to Ralph's down the street? You know, like financially speaking, does it make sense to choose one over the other?
Right, great question, very good question. I'll let you pass the mic back because it's actually not as straightforward of an answer as I wish it were. So let's compare growing food for yourself or your community versus a Ralph's, which is the example I heard. The Ralph's is the bottom of a vertical that has many different layers. There's packaging, delivery, all these different levels. But it's the bottom of a vertical, and each one of those layers of the vertical got subsidized by the federal government. Through farm acts and things like that, those subsidies are designed to, well, they're intended to, according to economics and like economic theory, subsidies are intended to bring the price down for regular consumers like us. It's intended to say, oh, the government's intervening in an industry where the price is too high for the consumers, we need to care for them and make the price reasonable, we'll pay the extra. But what really ends up happening is, and this is specific to agriculture that I'm familiar with this, what ends up happening is that exact subsidy amount gets gobbled up as profit by those companies on each vertical. Instead of innovating and using that money to make things more efficient and cheaper for us, they find a way to retain that as value for themselves. And that's because we operate in a capitalist system. So you can't do a socialist thing in a capitalist system and expect a capitalist outcome or socialist outcome, right? So that's the difference between urban agriculture. We have zero subsidies. All of the verticals that go into getting the food grown and to your doorstep, we have to cover that. So we gotta be super creative. I gotta have people work on Saturdays. I've gotta have people do all kinds of weird things to make things happen. And that cost is bore by us. So in truth, the food that we produce is way more expensive than the food at Ralph's. Truthfully, if we priced it dollar for dollar, we would have to charge people 4 times as much as Ralph's. Excuse me, but that isn't something we're willing to do because part of us is of the mission, the truth that we're in this moment where we need food produced. And so we can't put the price way high. So what we have to do is subsidize ourselves. We're subsidizing our own cost of the food by offering workshops, by doing projects, by doing speeches and like other things like that. All of that is to bring the price of our food that we've created down to a reasonable level for them. So for instance, our membership, they are paying $80 a month for a bag every week, so it's about $20 per bag, which is really low when you think about organic, nutrient-dense, variety, seasonal foods. I want to charge much more. My teammates are reasonable and they try to keep me, in check with that. But that's why I'm happy to be, doing so many other things to subsidize ourselves. And again, when our neighborhood starts subsidizing ourselves and say we don't need the federal government for anything else, then we're free.
Hi, my name is, this is loud. Hi, my name is Diane. I'm a community organizer and an anti-oppression and equity consultant here in Long Beach. I've been in and out for 20 years. I'm curious, the changing demographics, you talk about you're working with hyper-local communities, only a 2-mile radius. Long Beach is 60% of people of the global majority. This audience is not 60% of people of the global majority. I'm curious what organizations you recommend, particularly here in the South Bay, that center Black and brown communities that have been displaced from our local neighborhoods and need these skills, resources, and also produce the most.
Yeah, great question. I don't know the South Bay very well, but I do know a couple of Black farmers around Los Angeles, like Farmer Ken, and I know the Plant Plug and Plant Chica. We're all kind of familiar with each other. But in terms of South Bay and for organizations, what I will suggest you do is find a school nearby you that has a lot of space and find out if the principal has the courage, right? Because sometimes you find the right principal who has the courage to step up and make a growing program for their students. It takes school funds, yes, out of their own budget, but also they can apply for BSAP funds. Excuse me. BSAP is a state program, I believe, that subsidizes extracurricular activities. So inquire on BSAP. And then see if you can be that leader. I really hope that they find some funding. Whatever starts has to keep going. So, making sure there's a sales element to that operation in any regard. I'm never about growing food and giving it away. Sorry, I'm just not about that. It's too specialized, it takes too much work, time, and it tastes way better than the other food. So I'm always about selling the food, but there just needs to be a greater volume. Again, in economics, if the supply can increase significantly, then the price of the item goes down significantly. So if we can increase the supply of food, then we'll be much better off. You're welcome. Yes?
Hello. So just a minute ago, you were speaking about having communities subsidize themselves.
Yes.
And kind of removing, I guess, maybe I'm making an assumption, but kind of removing the government as middleman in the situation.
Yeah.
But my question to you is how, or would you have a strategy for kind of using these institutions as a vehicle for getting us to that point? In Altadena, for example, everyone knows there was a catastrophe in January.
Yeah.
And there's a major need for food systems to be rebuilt there.
Yeah.
Where our offices, directly across the street, there is the LA County Development Authority or something like that, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking about how, obviously that building was untouched from the fires, but I'm thinking about any strategies or ways that we can rely on the government, maybe as just like facilitator. Maybe we're just literally using the physical space that these offices have with these giant parking lots and things like that. Like, do you have any suggestions or strategies or approaches for things like that?
Yes, thank you so much for the question. There is a use to these existing institutions. For instance, LAUSD, I understand, is the largest landowner in the entire area, but a lot of the property is concreted. And I believe someone earlier asked a question about using concrete land. It takes an enormous amount of power, time, and money to remove concrete from certain spaces. So if you can avoid it, you try to avoid it. But if you really need to, I would lean into the properties that LAUSD have. We're partners with them. We have like 4 school gardens there, but their intentions are their intentions. And this is one point I wanted to make, is that all institutions are self-serving. If you view any institution and just wonder how something's going to go with it, it's going to go in their way if they can help it. So all institutions being self-serving mean that if the government is still involved in our food sovereignty, then it's likely involved for its own reasons, right? It's only maybe giving us seeds so that they can have the leverage to pull them back one day. Or maybe it's something even more nefarious. So we have to eliminate the risk. I suggest when you think about food security, think about food sovereignty, which means not just that there's food, like secure, you got food coming in, but you're in charge of the decision making about what that food is, where it's coming from, that it's distributed equitably and things like that. Other institutions on the government level, I'm not downing everything, but I just am seeing so many crazy things at this point that I think if we can figure out ourselves, there'll be a lot less turbulence. You don't have to vote for anything in order to have your own food security. You don't have to pay taxes. Actually, you don't have to pay taxes to have your own food security. But rather, you end up saving tax money by having your own food sovereignty. So, very good question, and I hope that helps. Yes, sir.
Oh, I need to learn how to do that better. Fabulous questions, fabulous mic monitoring. Thank you so much, and wonderful answers. Lots of things to think about. If you want to know more or speak with Jamiah further, he's going to be in the art gallery. He's also got a team that are going to be at a table, the Crop Swap LA team. They're going to have information and so forth. I also have a message here from headquarters that I have to say. I want to thank all of you for your engagement and involvement. The education and conservation work we do depend on support from people like you that care about our ocean and our environment. Every donation, whether it's $5 or $10, makes a tangible difference. There's a tip-tap station in the art gallery where you can, if you wish, make a quick donation by tapping your card or your phone, and we really appreciate your support. Now, time to go out for cocktails, conversations, music, and crafts in the art gallery until 10. And to those of you online, well, we miss you here, but thank you and have a good night. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, brother. Oh.